Whoa. Things have gotten weird.
I'm here today with two reviewers who have basically sold their soul to headphones.com. So tell me, both of you, how is it like working for headphones.com?
I didn't have a soul to begin with.
Oh, okay.
So, so here's the thing. If I wasn't working at headphones.com, I would not be a headphone reviewer vocationally.
Unless they resolve reviews.
There's a
YouTube
channel there.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that was just a random thing I was doing on the side for fun. And then they were like, hey, do you want to do this? Like, do you want to actually do this?
Like
and
a
I was
job.
Like,
Like
yeah,
a job.
Exactly. And I was like, well, okay, I guess. Yeah.
What about you? Because you were a prominent reviewer before you came on headphones.com, like 60, 70K when you onboarded. How is it different?
The difference is now I can do my regular reviews, like the stuff I would normally have to put out every week, I can do over on the Headphone Show, and the big, like, fun, crazy projects I can do on DMS. What's it like working for headphones.com? There's a lot of meetings. Like half of my week is just like meetings with you and other people, and yeah. The first thing I noticed when I onboarded, which was about a year ago, was everybody in meetings talks kind of like California tech bros. Instead of saying, yeah, we're a little bit behind on this project, they say, we're meeting a little bit of friction.
Oh, God damn it.
That word has come out a bit. Yeah.
But I don't know, everybody's fun. It's cool. Things feel very relaxed. I've enjoyed it so far.
So I have a question for you.
Sure.
What is it like being sponsored by headphones.com?
That was great.
He gets the paycheck and doesn't have to wear the shirt.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Since you dove into YouTube, it's like the Critical brand is just like...
Yeah, congratulations on that, by the way. That's like exploded.
It's like half great and half bad because there's so many things I want to do. But I'm stretched thin. And so some people look at this and be like, oh, he's not doing a lot. And I'm like, yes and no. Yes, I'm not doing a lot on the front end, but on the back end, I am swamped. That's the Mecca thing. And then after that, I'm actually starting out I'm trying to make videos for brands, like YouTube videos, because if people aren't aware, the local scene for general entertainment content is garbage.
And you have your collabs.
And that too.
That takes up a ton of time, I imagine.
It doesn't take up a ton of time. It's like it comes in bursts.
I know one of them is taking up a ton of time.
Project Red.
Yeah. You've done so many like different things on this, and I remember you showing me a version of it at SoCal and all that. This has been a long project for you.
I am unfortunately a bit of a stickler when it comes to all the details. Like people would be fine with like 1.0 and it's like, all right, let's release it.
Totally. I like that you've like taken this time and like are actually going through and asking everybody for feedback on it.
This is a very big pet project for me. It's like I consider this not in pricing, just in concept, a flagship. Yeah. Like this is my ideal. Let's talk about Harman.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
What were your thoughts on Harman IE 2017 and 2019? Like basically the Harman target for in-ear headphones and the fact that most reviewers don't use it.
I feel like it's just a V-shape. It sounds V-shaped. Sounds like you boosted the bass and you boosted the treble. That might be preference, but in general, even on the Audio Science review thread that hosts my, tune to Harman IEM, I suddenly see a lot of people being like, hey, this is a bit too shouty, it's too much. And the entire time I'm going, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
It is indeed too shouty. I made this so that you can recognize it. That's my project for like the Truth Zero. It's like, all right, I'm going to make Harman. One is because I am Mr. Moneybags and I want to fill up the hole in the market. But it's like, oh, no one's making a Harman IEM at $50. And the other one is also to test the limits on listener preference, where everyone's like, all right, oh yeah, Harman IE listener, everyone's going to like it. And people don't really like it based on the bass because it's like, yeah, that's preference, sure. People don't like it because of the upper mids. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's our point that we have tried to be making for the last 3 years. Our theory right now is that the Harman IE research, I think it's just the IE research, is that they did not allow for respondents to adjust for basically higher frequencies, whether that being by tilt or by being a high shelf, low shelf filter. Because of that, their starting point for like 1000 hertz upwards is just so massively high. It's like, I think 12 decibels for the 2017 target. That's way too much, but that's your starting point. And then they just told listeners to be like, all right, let's just slowly boost the bass according to your preference. And of course, everyone was going to boost the bass up to the high heavens because they're trying to basically counteract whatever pinna gain, the upper mids that they were subjected to at that point. That's our explanation one for being why Harman IE had so much more bass than OE, and two, why the pinna of the upper mids looked like how it looked like in 2017. They just didn't adjust for it for reasons.
What was the reason behind I'm calling it ear gain. The reason
Ear gain,
why
sure.
the ear gain is at the level that it's at.
I think they started out with like the OE and Harman in-room flat response, and then they just thought like, oh, OE worked, we're just gonna stick like that.
Is that true though? Like, did they not give people?
We'll ask Sean.
We'll ask Sean. This is what I'm
Let's
curious.
ask him.
Loyal acolytes of the Squiggly Lines would know of one man, one legend. And today I have the great honor of meeting him in person today, Mr. Dr. Sean Olive, in the flesh. Nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you.
Yes. I want to talk to you about, as an IEM person, I need to talk to you about Harman in-ear. And, well, arguably some criticisms of Harman in-ear. So one of the big things is that a lot of people, they don't really like it. Or at least not from, like, let's say, a treble perspective. It's too much, it's too bright, it's too shouty, all those similar descriptive words. What I would like to clarify is that for Harman in-ear 2017, the research that went into Harman in-ear, was there any treble adjustment, slope adjustments for the listeners who participated in the research?
We didn't do any formal experiments like we did with the over-ear. With the over-ear headphone, we did 249 people that adjusted the bass and treble.
Yes.
With the in-ear, number of listeners that adjusted the bass was much smaller. It was an internal panel of trained listeners, maybe 10 or 15 people. Those same people adjusted the treble. So there was an underlying assumption that the over-ear curve would be not too different than the in-ear curve. The big difference we found was the bass. People wanted to hear more bass.
But the in-ear curve from a raw perspective has a lot higher SPL in like the 3 to 5K region.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it's not a little bit, it's like 5 decibels.
5 decibels?
Yeah, quite a lot. My theory was that if you were to conduct the same level of rigor, like what you did with the over-ear target, where you allowed the respondents to adjust for both the slope as well as the bass response, the respondents would adjust for more of a slope and thereafter adjust for less of a bass response. Do you think there's any validity to that?
Yeah, I think there is, because in the adjustment experiment where they could adjust both, we found that they tended to track each other well. So if they adjusted the bass up, they would adjust the treble up, and vice versa. So there was always this constant slope between the two values, roughly 8-9 dB. So yeah, I do think that they track, that they're related to each other.
That's what I wanted to confirm, because all of my own personal preference curves when it comes to in-ear targets always had, like, let's say a maximum of 8 decibels relative to, let's say, 1000 hertz at 3000 hertz. Whereas again, when it comes to 2017, it was closer to like 12 or even higher than that. And it's kind of like flat lines all the way up to 5K if you looked at 2017. And of course you did like is it a smoothed over version for 2019?
Yeah, it's smooth. It's a smooth version.
So it's technically not a Harman target? Technically not?
No, we internally did that ourselves, and then we recommended listen to that as well.
Because right now we're trying to develop a curve for the 5128, 4620 for the IEM side, but it didn't make sense to do the extrapolation from, let's say, Harman IE 2017 all down to the 4620 for the same reasons that you would for the over ears. But at the same time, I feel like because there's the lack of the slope adjustment, that again, respondents were boosting up the bass up to the high heavens just to compensate for the extra SPL at like 4 to 5K.
That's a theory, but yeah,
it's a theory.
It's a theory
to test out.
It's a theory that could be tested,
Yeah.
and I think something I would like to look into. The biggest part of our market is TWS. We don't even make a wired in-ear. I think it's
still in-ears
yeah.
at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, they are, but with TWS, there's an app that comes with it, and that could be a sort of a feature or a testing ground, right? If you can gather data where they can adjust that slope, that would be the optimal solution. I also think that ear canal acoustics. We know from today's presentation that the shape and the volume of the ear canal can affect the sound pressure at the eardrum, and maybe your preferred balance may be different than someone else's.
Yeah, I think it's a general preference. So I do share the same ideals on like target curve with Andrew, we have Andrew here, where we would do, again, the same as Harman, a two-slope adjustment. So our starting point would be from diffuse field, and then after that, we give the option to people who use our graph to compensate with, let's say, oh, you want how many decibels of tilt, how many decibels of bass boost. We'll lock down the bass boost to, usually the point is about 150, 200 hertz for Harman research, and then just tell them, okay, there's the default curve, which we would of course establish, but there's also the option for you to go ham, like Harman research. So it is kind of also promoting the fact that there is no one true curve. We're just going to tell them, hey, now you can describe your own curve with two parameters, tilt and boost. So we hope that, that might be a good enough way to go into this new era of measurements. Do you think that's a valid way?
Is this a listening experiment,
No,
or it's just a different way of presenting your measurements?
Different way of presenting. So that's like, it's going to be compensated from the start, but at the same time, they can change.
So they go into the
the graph tool comparison.
right, and they can find whatever best meets their preferred
Yes.
profile.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an excellent idea.
We got approval from the big man himself. And with that is Dr. Sean Olive himself. Thank you again.
Thank
so
you.
much.
I would love to see a 3-point adjustment research to see specifically for the highest part of the ear gain, because again, that's where, like, if you're over at 3K, that, like, it sucks. Like, that's glary. And if we're talking about listener preference, I think there's more to listener preference than just the shelf, for bass and treble, I think.
Right.
And there has been research done on 3K, or I think, what is it, 2.7, something like that, the Lorho stuff, but that's only one. Right?
But
Technically.
Lorho is like the ultimate, like, I hate ear gain,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reason. Is Lorho working for Apple? I heard
I
that
have
he
no
is,
idea.
which is why the AirPods Max doesn't have goodness.
AirPods
Oh, really?
Max.
That makes
Jesus
sense.
Christ.
That makes so much sense. I hadn't thought about that. If you're even like at the level that's tolerable for yourself for a 3K, right? For anything that isn't really well recorded, that's going to sound harsh. It's okay to be a little more conservative there for the tuning, so that you can actually listen to more stuff. It can be more versatile.
HT650 perfect headphone.
Yeah, but even that's shouty for people.
But that's OE.
They're
It's
wrong.
Harman OE. I am happy with Harman OE's.
Harman
like,
OE good.
ear gain.
There needs to be that meme, the Drake meme, right? Harman IE and then Harman OE.
I see the one where it's like friendship with Harman IE over.
Yeah.
Harman OE is my friend now.
Yeah. Now we get to the new stuff, right?
Mhm.
What are you doing for?
For potentially doing like what I'm planning to do with the 5128, Harman basically gets thrown out the window because, first of all, Harman themselves now are being very private. They don't want to share any of their data with us because we don't have that. Now we are kind of resorting to like diffuse field. But as we all know, diffuse fields sound shouty as shit and nobody should use it. So the alternative is how DF is kind of used in the speaker world, where people just add a downslope to a flat response, and that sounds more pleasant. Some people might add a further bass shelf on top of that. For end user measurements, or when they read measurements, the idea now is to shift into, all right, you want to make your own target curve, you can make your own target curve, and the two parameters that can do so is through the tilt and the bass boost. Either way, you just come up with something that is DFE for harmony, At some point, it does look Harman. Like if you do 10 plus 6, it looks pretty much Harman-ish.
See, I still want to do a 3-point slope, where the third point is Lorho.
I disagree with 3 points because I want to make it as foolproof, idiot-proof, moron-proof as possible. Every single parameter they add on top of it is going to confuse the masses even more, no matter how smart they think they are. We could have made it like, oh, you know what? We're just going to do full parametric. Just
There
make
we
your
go.
own shit.
50 points.
There is a problem though with abundance of choice.
Exactly. 3 points is pushing it a little bit, especially when people are asking like, okay, tilt, understandable. Bass boost, understandable. What's the third one? And you have to explain what the fuck is Lorho, what the fuck is ear gain.
Well, you don't have to explain that. You can just give them the options.
Which
There-
is the problem. No,
But
that's the
see,
problem.
then you end up with people who reduce treble who actually want a bass boost,
Yes.
but they're doing that to.
Yes,
But,
exactly.
but then you end up with problem.
then you end up with the Harman problem again, right?
Yes.
Which is.
But this is like, it's such a complex problem, and the average person does not need that headache. Do you have any spicy questions for us?
Spicy. The problem found is that the spiciness is reserved for people who kind of don't share my opinions. Whereas both of you kind of dare.
We're not on your shit list.
Yeah. It's not shit list. It's just like you guys don't actively disagree. Like for example, I ask you, does burn-in exist? It's like, well, I know the answer from you two. Does cable matter? You know, where's the spiciness in that? Boring.
I think
boring.
you still like DAX and amps though.
I still like DAX and amps, but a lot of the DAX and amps that I like are like ones that are very, very measurably flavored, like have high output impedance and do wonky things and non-linearity.
I should bring Cameron in here and be like, you know what, Apple dongle.
Yeah. Here's the thing though, I have seen Cameron do his ABX thing and he picks things out and that I'm just like, how'd you do that?
I've done the ABX with some of them, and for example, I did the A90 versus the Magni 3.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell a difference.
I actually set up an AB at my office, at the DMS office, with, I shit you not, a $30,000 headphone stack, DAC amp and all that stuff, and a Mayflower Arc.
And could you tell?
No one could tell a difference. Now, here's the thing, I brought in like a dozen people.
You didn't bring Cameron though.
The thing though is that like, I actually do think he might be able to.
I mean, yeah, if you can tell the difference, then you get to spend more money, I guess.
Yeah, you get to.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, now
But
I have to spend the money
yeah,
now.
yeah. What's a headphone that you like that we don't like, or that one of us doesn't like, or vice versa?
HD 800.
It's okay.
Okay,
I like it for gaming.
I like the soundstage. Here's the thing, I bought
It
it.
is nice for the stage.
Yeah, I bought an HD 800 because it's a specialist in its truest form. It's like you buy it just to not accurate soundstage, but wide soundstage.
I think I have somewhat of a spicy thing that we're going to disagree on.
Hit me.
I don't think soundstage really matters all that much.
We were talking about this
headphones and
yesterday, too.
IEMs?
Yeah.
Dude, here's the thing, I agree.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because here's the thing, soundstage only exists in speakers.
Yeah.
That's the reason why a lot of people come up to me and be like, Crin, why don't you talk about soundstage and imaging in your reviews? I'm like, it doesn't. I don't
I'd say
care.
speakers
It
in
doesn't
some
care.
headphones. Because there's no doubt to me that
No, there's like
HD800
HD 800,
stages
yeah.
more than, you know, an HD600.
There's totally claustrophobic headphones, and then there's
Right.
spacious sounding headphones.
But
like,
none of them are speakers.
as long as it's not terrible, as long as I don't feel claustrophobic, I don't care.
Ear speakers. Speakers that float in front of your, like the set of speakers that float outside your head and point at your ears.
I have a friend who collects those, like specifically. K1000's the shit. Like it's like, oh, there's this variant with bass, and then there's this variant with mid-range. Like he goes deep in the weeds on those shit.
Those do interesting stage things though too. But I think it's
It's
probably
ear
just
spe-
presentation.
I think it's ear speakers in general, where it's like, yeah, it sounds speaker-ish, but not quite. But back to your point, where it's like, yeah, there's no such thing as soundstage and imaging. Oh, no such thing, or like it doesn't matter.
Yeah, like
Because
I think,
because I told him before, it's like, okay, you know what, speakers, if we take speakers, imaging, and soundstage, I'll put it as 100. Headphones, the best headphones, 15.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
where I'm.
IEMs, 2.
Yeah, but there is a difference, right? Like from between good and bad. It's just not.
There's
like
a difference,
speakers.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the difference is like all the way up to 15.
Sure.
Yeah. The shit ones, yeah, goes all the way down to 1.
Yeah.
Sure, at that point, I will concede and be like, fine, you know what, that's terrible. Don't buy that if you like a soundstage whore. But anything up to 15, it's like, oh, this sounds like speakers. No, don't kid yourself, man. Not even close.
What's your take on the whole planar versus dynamic driver headphone thing? Like, there's some people who like they only like one, and they think another one is like way better.
I look at it from a much more engineering standpoint, where it's like I like planars because they're much more tolerable to seal leakage. When it comes to like the more subjective nitty-gritty things, I feel like okay, dynamics have that better timbre that a lot of people
They have slam.
Yeah, people will be like, oh, there's like planar timbre, there's slam, there's dynamics, macro, micro.
My theory is that timbre is just FR, and that planars have a unique characteristic in the treble.
You got the jaggedy shit.
Honestly, EQ a planar that doesn't have super jaggedy shit going on to like an Odyssey, for example. If you EQ that to our new target, or you're doing the same thing with the 5128, like if you EQ it to match with the tilt, fixes any timbre issues that it may have had. Or at least that's how I hear it. It does not sound like timbrally weird.
Timbre is in treble.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
treble FR thing.
I think I might test that out as well.
I was told that I am the only reviewer in the world who didn't like The Expanse.
Did you review it?
Nope.
Have you heard it?
Nope.
I mean, for me, the biggest issue was I think of The Expanse as kind of like Greenland, like Greenland was a place that was discovered and it was kind of cold and icy. And they're like, you know what, let's call it Greenland. And then people will go there because it's like green. But it's not really. Yeah. I think The Expanse is like that, where it's called The Expanse but it has like negative soundstage somehow. Like it does
dear.
not have, like, this is where we're talking about before, like soundstage doesn't really matter. That one to me, at least the way that I hear it, it's very closed in sounding somehow.
Is dynamics and soundstage part of FR?
I think soundstage, yes. Dynamics, I don't know. Soundstage, I think, is like, if you scoop out like the HD800S effect, if you scoop out like 1.5K and then you boost something in the treble, you can create the illusion of spaciousness, right? Or some mid treble thing, right? Maybe it's 6K, maybe it's 8K, or I'm not sure. If you create that effect in other headphones, even just with EQ, it does sound a bit more spacious. Now, I don't think that's exhaustively the case. I don't think you can turn a super claustrophobic sounding thing into an HD800S by doing that, but I think you can create a similar kind of effect with that headphone. Question of dynamics, that one still sort of eludes me. Listen to headphones, I think, oh yeah, this has, it's got something, and then I listen to a Fostex or a Focal, something that actually has dynamics, and it's like, no, it still doesn't. It's still not quite right. IEMs are a great example, right? When you listen to something that has like a really good like DD in it, right? You notice that difference compared to if it's like BAs or something else, right?
The slam.
Yeah, you notice that, like, it might measure the same, but it sounds different.
Which was my theory on like the 4620, where it's like, okay, maybe this is the deciding point where it's like, okay, BAs now measure with less bass on the 4620.
I don't know.
I haven't found that yet.
There's nothing like a
You
double
haven't
D.
I mean, I haven't measured enough.
We should put in a double D in there.
There's nothing like a double D.
Yeah.
I don't understand this reference. Ah.
I was making a boobs reference.
Oh, okay. Well, where's Zeus?
Yeah.
You would have got that.
What were we talking about? I'm like high from tiredness.
Yeah, me too.
Any last things that you guys want to promote, shill,
I want to shill my thing that doesn't exist yet.
Bass jack.
Yeah,
bass jack,
bass jack.
bass jack?
Bass
What
jack
is bass
quote.
jack?
Little box. You plug it up between your
It's a
amp
big
and your
box, man.
headphone.
It's a big box.
It's, well, it's
It's a little
quarter
box,
inch in,
yeah.
quarter inch
Yeah.
out. It's passive. It doesn't take power. You plug it up to your headphone, and instead of rolling off, bass goes up. Instead of going down, it goes up.
Bass jack.
Bass jack.
Bass jack.
Shilling my bass jack. It's my like
the non-existent bass jack.
my
No, it
first to
exists
be
here,
released
for sure.
collab.
Yeah, but it's not like mass production. It's like one in the world,
There's two, actually.
or two in the world.
The first run is like going into production, so it's my first ever collab, and I put like my heart and soul and natural bass enhancement into it.
Natural enhancement.
Yeah.
Natural
I
bass
figured that's what
enhancement.
everybody needed, was just a little bit of natural
So
enhancement.
if we weren't sure about bass jack, natural bass enhancement is like a close
Do
second.
you have a limp headphone? I've got natural bass enhancement for you at a low price.
Subscribe to the Headphone Show channel. That's another one. They talk about headphones on there.
You're actually almost at 100K, right?
Yeah,
And
I'm gonna
DMS
hit 100K
3TV.
Where did that boost come from? I feel like it came from nowhere.
Atmos Video.
Oh, I guess this is like one of our semi-annual meetings. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I won't be coming to SoCal, unfortunately.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, we'll need to
Aw.
go to Singapore.
Yeah.
Are you?
That's what I'm
Are
saying.
You?
Yeah, I mean, if
Are
I-
you? Are
I
you?
want to.
If I don't throw myself off a bridge later today, yeah. We need the don't die. Fuck off.